Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the Cal Royal. Their part number BBSC-56. This is a US3 finish hinge. Polished brass, 4x4 is the size. Full mortise, standard weight, ball bearing, steel base, standard removable pin hinge. All right, let's go over it. Let's dissect the part number. BB, that's going to mean ball bearing. There are two bearing packets on a hinge like this, meaning a hinge that is considered standard weight. And standard weight is a reference to the thickness of the leaf. That would be 129 thousandths generally on a hinge like this, maybe 130 thousandths. Cal Royal states that this is 129 thousandths leaf thickness. Why not test it with the caliper and see what it says? Caliper says it's 127 thousandths of an inch thick. So there you go. Versus a heavyweight hinge, which you really wouldn't do in a 4x4. Although it's possible. A heavyweight hinge would be thicker, about 176 thousandths in that range. It would have all bearing packets between all of the joints. So a standard weight hinge is going to have two ball bearing packets. Ball bearing hinges versus non-ball bearing, or what is called plain bearing hinges, are... The difference between the two is this. If you want the door to work day one, as it will 20 years down the road, you're going to want to seriously consider ball bearing hinges. In a residential application, I don't think you can really say that you want to have ball bearing hinges everywhere if the upcharge is significant. The doors that you're going to certainly want them are those doors that are used often. So the linen closet in a bathroom that might be opened once a day, you might get away with plain bearing. But the garage door, the front door, the door maybe down to the basement where the children go up and down all day long to play, you're going to want ball bearing hinges. Now, it's not going to matter so much day one, but I promise you in 20 years that top hinge will be destroyed basically, because that wearing metal on each other all those years is going to increase the distance of the joint between the two knuckles. The door will absolutely start to creep out like this. The door will no longer operate correctly in the frame. It will begin to damage the door and frame, etc. There's really no argument to make other than economic for not having all ball bearing hinges. But if the reason to not have them is not a reason, go all ball bearing hinges. The doors will work better, they will work smoothly, they will work more quietly, more reliably, and for far longer. Okay, now moving on. SC in the part number, that stands for square corner. It's important to know that the corner on this hinge is square. 56, it's just a reference really to the size of the hinge. The BBSC 56 all colludes to mean a ball bearing square corner commercial or standard weight hinge that's 4x4. The height is the first dimension on a hinge like this. That's important to know. 4x4. So it doesn't matter when you have a square hinge, but imagine a hinge that's not square, one that's rectangular. What would that be? Well, it'd be very commonly like a wide throw hinge that you could see in a residential application, like 4.5x6. It's important to know that or 4x6. It is important to know that the height of 4-inch is the height, the first dimension of the hinge. Probably not going to make an error ordering a 6-inch tall hinge, but it does commonly come in when you have a steel door and a steel frame in a commercial application. That would be 5 by 4.5. It's important to know that the height is 5-inch. It's a very common combination that you can run into. Having said that, let's move on. US3. US3 tells us that it's polished brass. And that is going to mean in this hinge that it is a steel-based hinge, made of steel, with a polished brass plating on it, and then it has a lacquer coating on it. It would be more accurate to call this 632 finish. That code, the 3-digit numerical number, which is called the BHMA number, tells us, it infers in the number, the base material as well as the finish. US3 doesn't tell us what the base material is. You could also have a solid brass hinge and still call it US3, but it wouldn't be 632 anymore. It would be 605. Both 605 and 632 are polished brass, but they differentiate from each other based on the base material. So this is a steel-based hinge. Full mortise. You can see from the swag on the hinge leaves there that when they're brought parallel, they're meant to be mortised flush to the edge of the door and frame and leave that small gap between the door and frame. Standard weight, we talked about that, 129 thousandths. This measures 127. Ball bearing, we talked about that. You'll have 2 bearing packets. Steel-based, we talked about standard removable pin, meaning that I could insert some tool down into the bottom of that hinge and then easily, I can't do it by hand because there's probably knurling on that hinge pin, but you could easily tap that pin out. That would be typical for residential applications. It'd be typical for a front door of a house that the door swung in to the space. If you have an exterior door that swings out, you're simply going to want to order this hinge as a security pin or a non-removable pin, where that there will be a set screw drilled and tapped into the barrel. In the pin there's a groove cut so that when you tap the pin down and then tighten the set screw, you can't push that pin out. It's practically impossible to do so. Now, there's a extended description below this video. Hinges must be purchased in quantities of 3. That rule has applied with Cal Royal for a very long time, and I don't anticipate it changing. So keep that in mind. If you ordered 5 hinges, we're gonna tell you we need to sell you 6 or 3, and that's Cal Royal's requirement, not ours. They don't break boxes. Break a box open, and there are 3 in a box, although they're sold as each hinge. Or priced per hinge. Steel-based material, number of holes 8. A 4x4 hinge like this will be considered template pattern. Will have 4 holes per leaf, and in a template specification for the dimensional properties. There is a link below this video to a document called Template, where you can view the dimensional properties of the screw holes so that you can determine if this is the proper hinge for your application. If you have an existing hinge, by all means, measure and compare where your screw hole locations are and the thickness of the leaf before you purchase these as an exact replacement, because it may not be an exact replacement. Screws, you're going to get all wood screws and all machine screws for this hinge. 1224 is the size of a metal screw on a 4x4 hinge. For standard weight doors, receiving average frequency service. Okay, and then that link again to the template will show you everything important dimensionally about the hinge. Finally, there's a link below this video to the manufacturer's page where you can pull up not only all of the Cal Royal products that we sell, but also a link to the manufacturer's website where you can pull up Cal Royal's approach to all of their product line, a very nice, easy to use website. And then finally a link to the product catalog where you can see all things in a PDF sort of fashion from Cal Royal. I'm partial to Cal Royal. It's because they have a real good quality product. The only defect on that hinge are just my fingerprints, which obviously will be easily wiped off. Good quality product, good quality value, and customer service as well. If you have any questions on the Cal Royal BBSC-56 in a US3 finish 4x4 hinge or any other Cal Royal product, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you.